Hey everyone, Jenny and Mac here. We're back with another episode detailing life aboard our sailboat Maya.
This episode is part of an ongoing series covering our 3-month trip to Southeast Alaska from our home port of Anacortes, Washington. In the last episode, we launched on our most ambitious sail to date, a 6-day non-stop passage from Craig, Alaska to Nia Bay, Washington. We initially encountered heavy wind and seas, but thankfully calmer weather moved in for the following few days. This episode begins with us roughly 20 miles off the west coast of Vancouver Island on day 4 of our 6-day passage.
This trip is starting to feel a little long. And now for something new, we are enveloped in super thick fog. Yeah, just another little interesting twist on this trip.
So we just got some less than favorable news on the weather. Seems like there may be a gale coming in. We're off the west coast of Vancouver Island right now. We got 2 different reports and they both say southeast winds. So definitely a little nervous right now, and we're just staring down possibly a rough 24 hours. So we've got some reefs in right now. And the wind is starting to pick up, so we'll just, be super cautious and conservative, but definitely a little nervous right now.
Okay, it's roughly midnight, night 4, off the west coast of Vancouver Island. There's constant lightning, it's pouring rain. We just made the decision, we're going straight into shore. I mean, it's hard not to feel like a giant lightning rod out here.
It's really scary. It is pitch black, so you can't see anything except for when lightning lights up the sky.
Okay, so it's probably about an hour later. We're headed into shore. We probably won't anchor or anything because we're not supposed to, but I'll feel better knowing that we're surrounded by trees and stuff that's higher than our mast. The system's supposed to kind of dissipate at about 5 in the morning. It's 3:30 right now. So I think we just got to hold on a little while longer.
I'm hanging on by a thread. This is so rough.
It doesn't help that this is like day 4. We're already tired from the journey, and it's definitely a challenge.
It's a big test of our stamina right now.
I think things are going to be a lot better just once the sun comes up. Why do these things have to happen in the middle of the night? I mean, but we'll report back in once the sun comes up. Alright, so it's light out now. And the lightning seems to have dissipated, thank goodness, but we're now left with a horrible sea state. Oh, it's so miserable. And there's no wind to sail in. There's like 3 or 4 knots of wind now. It's like one thing after another. I'm ready just to be done with this trip. So after motoring most of the day, winds have started to pick up, and it looks like that northwest system is indeed moving in. But it's nice to have the wind back so we can keep a little bit of a buffer for our fuel consumption. Still got the motor going right now, but Jenny's sleeping right now, so maybe once she gets back up, we'll raise the main and keep some of our fuel reserves for the last few miles. In the last 24 hours going into the last night. I'm so thankful that there's only one more night. It's been a doozy of a trip. So we got some nice wind out of the northwest, just pushing us home. Got the jib out, motor off, less than 100 miles to go. Yeah, home stretch here. Okay, so we are in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. We are about 2 hours away from Nia Bay. We have one more kind of challenge in front of us, and that is getting across the Strait of Juan de Fuca. This is a huge highway for massive container ships, and it's kind of like playing a little game of Frogger. So we're just trying to time our crossing correctly so we can slip through without causing any issues with the big container ships. So this is us right here, and this is kind of this big highway. And these other green triangles are these container ships. We're gonna let these guys pass, then we're gonna kind of scoot in to Nia Bay, where we can finally drop the hook. All right, so behind me, we have the state of Washington. We made it. It's taken us 6 days and 5 nights. We're just about an hour away from Nia Bay. We're gonna drop the hook, we're gonna spend the night there and just freaking sleep, get out of this ocean swell, and then we're gonna continue making our way back towards Anacortes, the San Juans.
We had lightning, rain, high winds of 35 knots,
Fog.
huge waves.
Super big challenge, but we're feeling good. Headed into the finish line right now. right, hey everyone, it's Matt. It's still me, it's Mac. I got a new look, so we're just rolling into Anacortes now after roughly 2,500 miles and almost 3 months. Crazy to think of all the things we've experienced and done and seen on this trip. One thing we've reflected on is how far we've come in just a few years. You know, I think it was like 3 years ago we were dropping the anchor by ourselves for the first time, and now we're coming from Alaska, you know, completing this big trip. And I think this the big message I'd like to put out there is that it can be done. You know, whatever it is that you want to do, or you know you have in your mind, that you know it can totally be done. You just put the work in and the effort, and you know it'll happen. So also thank you very much for everyone who's been following along. It's been really fun sharing, and we've actually met a bunch of people through the channel, and we've heard from a bunch of you. So thank you very much for following along. Really appreciate it.
Okay, we're just about to close the loop on this trip from Washington up to Alaska and back. It was an amazing trip, and I think we're still processing all of it. Everything we experienced, the wildlife, the views, the boating, the sailing, it was all incredible. I definitely could have spent a lot more time in Alaska. I feel like we just scratched the surface, and I know someday we'll be back there, so there's a lot more left to be explored. That's a wrap!
Well, there you have it. We are back in Anacortes, and our journey to and from Alaska is complete. Alaska is truly a wild place, and we feel so fortunate to have been able to explore it from the comfort of our little floating home. We hope you enjoyed the Alaska series as much as we did making it. Before we go, a quick reminder, we have an online store at cruisingmaya.com. There you'll find t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and a whole lot more. We're constantly adding more items, so cruise over to cruisingmaya.com and check it out. If you want to help support the making of these videos, shopping in our store is the best way to do that. Also, we've added a virtual tip jar available at cruisingmaya.com. We invest a lot of time into making these videos, and the more support we feel from people like you, the more time we can invest in producing quality content like the video you just saw. Okay, that's it, folks. We are back in Anacortes, but don't fear, there's a lot more adventure to come, namely a 2,000-mile trip down the west coast for a warm, sunny winter in Mexico. A lot more adventure to come, so stay tuned. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you here next time. Cheers.
Oh my god, you have to see this dog.